I was in
IAC.
for 6
I'm an old IAC product.
Yes. So somehow we are all connected
long,
with IAC.
long back, maybe 78.
You see a lot of differences in them.
Sri Kalisamy and my associates, who are the directors of this institution and the principals and the head of the departments of various departments. It's a matter of great pleasure to be along with Dr. Santosh and Dr. Sethi, who are going to speak specifically on various research aspects of the proteomics, what they have done in the United States and in Germany. It will be a heavy dose of condensed material on structural proteomics, which is actually going to be the governing subject of humanity in 21st century. Well, in this context, I was thinking of not speaking exclusively on the proteomics, protein folding, protein dynamics, and its ligand interactions, classifications, metamorphisms of that, and the evolutions. These are all specific topics over which those concerned people who are focusing on the various concentrated points would be happy to just research details to you. But at the same time, I am conscious about the requirements of the 21st century, where the knowledge in biology has really diversified into a state where it has become more complex than the biology of the old, where we look at the species, where we look at the plants and the animals and say that this is biology. More than that, we have come to the state of a life where we deal with the molecules and say these are forming the parts of the life and they are forming the clusters of life, rather than the big mammoth forms of life what we are seeing. Probably a minute will enable you to take your positions and keep silence so that we can proceed. Well, that's the way the things are going. So it is absolutely necessary to think beyond proteomics, beyond the molecular advancement, science advancement, what we are making today. And there is a necessity to think in a multidisciplinary way. Probably the leading centers like Princeton, Harvard, Caltech, they have put forward their step at least 1 or 2 years back, and reaping the harvest today. So I thought I will speak on these subjects rather than looking at the specific aspect of the protein structure, identification, classification, and probably exploring further proteins which are yet to be discovered. With this introduction, I would like to get into my speech, which is going to be actually about 12 to 13, 14 minutes. And I'm going to speak on multidisciplinary research, a way to success in 21st century. 20th century research in the past actually leveraged on the coupling and refining the fundamentals of living systems. Probably you may be remembering all those who have studied for the last 10 years or 20 years, 30 years, these 3 decades, they would have seen the evolution with which the studies have gone through, the knowledge was building up. So we were studying the living systems, actually classified into animal systems and then plant biology. And then we have invented enough and much by which we are able to control certain things, we are able to aid the process of the living being, and we are able to digest the process what is going on, and we are able to document it properly so that narrow, focused research can yield large results, which are the rewards of the society today. And we have worked in materials, we have worked in energy-enabled devices and dynamics. Probably in the material side, we have the capture up to the nano material level, where the dimensions are handled in few nanos to 10 nanos level. And we are having the best products of today, which are actually nano powders, carbon nanotubes. We have the nano sensors. We have various types of devices which are coming up, and we have the technology for dealing with it. And in the materials side, tremendous research and diversification, classification, fixing up, and applications which has already come through. And energy-enabled devices, when we call energy-enabled devices, means the active devices supporting you, right from Edison's lamp onwards to the modern computers and the supercomputers and the electronic systems, your wireless systems. There is a number of inventions which has come through, and the technology has been fabulously supported, and we have specific achievements which narrates to tremendous success of the 20th century and then spilling over to 21st century and ready to support further deep research into probably biology and materials and even cosmos. And various other aspects of theoretical concept, actually, intelligent formations of the human being, how you will be able to travel across the globes, across the stars. These things are possible today. We are able to conceive things. We are able to understand the universe. We are able to fly across from the Earth to Moon. You have seen the successful landing of Indian Space Research Organization's Chandrayaan unit over the surface of the Moon. So, certain things in the dynamics, understanding the dynamics of the world also we have conquered. We have great achievements in atomic physics, chemistry, zoology, botany, electronics, computers, space travel, nuclear energy. These are some of the domains in which has created fresh knowledge. It is not possible to narrate the whole thing, but you can streamline your thoughts to focus on achieving how to land on Mars. And the system, the method, or you can say how to solve the geophysical fluid dynamics in a supercomputer, or how I can model a complete nuclear reaction, maybe a fission reaction or a fusion reaction inside the computer. Probably I can synthesize models by which I can create evolutions of the Earth. The species which we include, this is only one nodal point evolution. I can create one more evolution on Earth, by which the species will be absolutely different. Probably the Earth is not conducive for such a sustained evolution. But artificially, if I create today, by 2500 evolved species will be under my command and control. So, these are the type of knowledge which we could generate in the 20th century. And we are looking forward to 21st century in this, the first decade of the 21st century. We are looking forward, and what can we do? What are the wonders waiting for us? How do we diversify from our present knowledge to these challenges? 21st century will simultaneously carry forward the refinements of knowledge in the above fields, and it will actually invent the cross fields also, by which it will be able to contribute with new products, new process, and new thoughts. There is a transition which has to take place from the refined knowledge, what we have achieved in the past, and a combined, a mixed knowledge, what we have to create across biology, or biology and atomic physics. I am talking deliberately on the general side of it, rather than going to a point, because this is the need of the day, what we feel. And we will get into some of the intense fields where we can really contribute. All the fields cited above have achieved a level of maturity, but not of full performance. Definitely I am able to pick and place nanomaterials today. I am able to do my atomic force, with the help of the atomic force microscope, I am able to trace the dimensions of 10 nanometers to 5 nanometers to even 1 nanometer. My tunneling microscope will be able to give me a great picture of the single-volt or multi-volt nanotubes. Probably I can trace the properties of the zinc oxide coated with biomolecules for sensing the probably some of the chemicals which may be passing through the cantilevers of 10 nanometers over the surface of the metal what I have coated with biomolecules. Maybe the carbon dioxide which is actually rotating with a particular axis in multi-dimensions and in billion molecules. When it passes through, I will be able to convert it into carbon and oxygen, which is not far away. So, application of this know-how, probably a fission or a fusion material will be packed into a small battery type of environment, and we will be able to create energy for our requirement. That could be one possibility. So, not only in nuclear physics, not only in biology, not only in the understanding of the dynamics of the world, in all types of concepts and the domains in which we have created the knowledge, need to combine appropriately in 21st century, and there is a great panoramic change waiting for you to apply your skills and talents to produce the product and process which will help the humanity to sustain. Intense work in narrow fields are going on. That's what you are going to hear in proteomics, and which gives more and more spotlight on the frontiers of knowledge. Whether it is computing science, the techniques of understanding the intelligence, the techniques of brain, how it operates, and then condenses the information and stacks it so that you can retrieve it instantaneously with less search and more cohesion and concentration over the net result what we have to get. The theories of computing, or the theories of nuclear sciences by which I will be able to realize a fusion reaction within the controlled atmosphere, or changing the plasma state into a state of absolute molecular travels, which I can use it for the propagation from one planet to another planet in another stellar domain, not inside the sun's domain. We can fly across. We require a large amount of energy to travel, maintainable energy for millions of years. So, specialized properties and phenomena are under focus, which help, or with the help of the supercomputers and extraordinary precise instruments and methods. I have told you, today we are working in nanotechnology. We want to create drug delivery systems by which the drug will be ported across your body, and it will be exposed to the cell which requires the drug nature so that I can control the proteins which are remaining there. I want to deliver a chemical there. Should there be delivery of the chemical, or should there be a delivery of another protein which will encapsulate or which will interact with that and spoil the enemy protein there? So there are techniques and devices by which we need to move in, and which we have to devise methods by which it is turned into the benefit of the society. Further progress we need to make that extreme refinement of the knowledge. Should we stop with the refinement of the knowledge what we have in nanotechnology today? Okay, that's the end of it? No, not at all. Focused research is the need of the day, and we have to understand more and more, and then we have to combine this knowledge. A mixing of the refined knowledge with other fields is an extremely relevant theme, and people have started looking into, or it is necessary for the people to look into. The second aspect has a great potential, and it can do wonders in the human achievement saga. We have a great saga of achievement. Right from the caveman who was living actually the natural habitat offered by the earth, who has walked across the land. He cultivated, he invented the fire, he invented the nuclear bombs too, and he flew, and he has settled, and he requires more and more facilities to sustain life on earth. The humanity requires enormous amount of support from the scientists to combat the problems that they face today. Whether it is an attack of the virus in the form of ever-transforming nature, or whether it is a requirement to fly away, or is it a requirement to smash off an asteroid which is coming across the earth. These are all the great imagination, not only imagination, these are the realities. You don't get asteroids hitting Earth because it has already hit about 500 million years back. It's over. That's why you are not getting. Otherwise, there is a definite probability of having an asteroid in the path of this 365 days path around the sun. Another body is coming and hitting. It may be there, but we cannot say that it is not there. So, the greater, because I happen to tell this because I just remembered my work in 1990 along with NASA on the asteroid mission, which they are going to carry out within 3 years again. So, the greater rewarding opportunities in combining the multi-domain advanced scientific knowledge is waiting for each one of you who focus on your field. Trend-setting research has to come. Definitely it has to come. We can never say that the invention of the genetic code or complete Homo sapien proteins have been listed, or we are able to synthesize, we are able to control some of the viruses, but that's not the end of it actually. As I was speaking about a month back in one of the symposium here on biotechnology, I spoke at the same time also. Under the command and control, I would like to see that macromolecules are splitting in such a way that after they split, they have the same characteristics. And it must be done under the command and control of the human being. Probably much more than that today I am envisaging. And the research trends of the biology, nanotechnology, computing elements, chemistry and physics, they all need to combine. There are intricate problems facing the humanity today. They are the energy, the drugs and disease control, the security of the food. It's a major theme, but people are not able to solve. Even a model is not yet ready by which the security of the food can be assured for the people to live here. We are always thinking locally, maybe a mode of nation or a cluster of nation of G8 or G20. Beyond that, there is birth taking place. There are people living there. They have the problems. And once you are one among them, it is your duty to think in those lines too. So the security of the food, sustainable social systems, against the problems which are facing them from the climate, from the depletion of the oxygen and increase of the ozones. The green earth problems all are encircling the human being, and there are thousands of methods which could be devised which will definitely eliminate these challenges. And let us look into the energy, the depleting fossil fuel. One of the major reasons of the economic crisis facing today, you know that how much of debt and how much of economic harassment is actually in the anvil for the world if it is not taking the proper directions. One of the main reasons is the cost of fuel has gone from $39 to $139, and it's consumed a large amount of money which has flown into the hands of maybe some sort of people. But that has affected many of the existing things. So the energy, apart from the economic crisis it creates, apart from that, about 50 years from now, the fossil depletion will be almost in an absolute perishable. I'm not taking the last copies within 50 years, but it's in actually a precarious condition if you are consuming in this order. Who will give to whom? And who only will have it? These are some of the questions we need to be vigilant about, and every scientist in the world needs to be aware of it, and whether his knowledge can contribute something to that is a question always hanging in front of him. Can we have a specific amoeba or bacteria living in fluids of mineral solutions? I just put it bacteria or amoeba. I may go for macromolecular systems which could interact in such a way that the fluids can give the supply of the energy and the material which can be synthesized into large hydrocarbons. And these hydrocarbons could be in the industrial dimensions. That I mean, it should be possible actually to produce large amount of hydrocarbons which contains enormous amount of energy which is ready to explode at droplets which will be releasing of the order of 500 horsepower or 1500 horsepower, like that, which could be used by humanity. That's what exactly maybe in a very refined way petrol is doing because of the evolution what Earth has gone through. So it is necessary absorbing the necessary content and producing trillion liter hydrocarbon chain. Is it possible? Yes, we have to look into. A ribosome factory, more promptly the complex molecules by pick and place. I would like to synthesize actually the proteins not under the command and control of the nature. Under my command and control, I want to pick and place and to contain massive energy in the bonds. Complementary tRNA for it. Will you be able to? Because these people will be talking the structure of these things, structure of proteomics at that time, you will be able to. But I would like to look at a large plant which is spread over a few hundreds of acres, producing $1 trillion energy oil, which will be having enough bonds which I can break within a split second of the order of 1 millisecond. I can split about 1 trillion bonds. I will be getting the energy to propel myself across the world. I cannot depend on the nature what it has gifted to me, which I am going on extracting. But enough elements are there on Earth. Carbon is abundant. You are crying about carbon dioxide. Extract the oxygen or extract the carbon from it and then pump it. Carbon is not in shortage. Which element is in shortage? If it is recyclable, And where is the energy from? The sun is giving abundant amount of energy actually. But the way in which we can extract per unit area, which is very, very less. So the living standards, the living style, all these things have to undergo transformation over centuries. 21st century, 22nd century, 23rd century, things need to change. Whereby the primitive energy forms of explosions, what we are using today, are not required for the human being to sustain. Slow movements, slow activity, but sustained and perfect living. It is an evolution. Probably 100 years of window offered by the nature to you to remind will not be able to think very easily about it. But if you are constantly contemplating, you will find that these are the truths which are awaiting for you. So a ribosome factory where I will be synthesizing the hydrocarbon chain in a larger way, not only the amino acids and the proteins, what I do. We will not get into the details. Drugs and disease control, it's a big challenge actually. The humanity is facing challenges of diseases. Definitely new modern diseases are coming and the existing diseases are actually combating with the medicines. They are transforming by itself. Some of the drugs are not effective these days. Considering the statistical nature of the evolution taking place on Earth, more complex mechanisms are required to protect from disease. It's a fact actually. The evolution, when it drives more and more, and proteins are undergoing transformations and change, the requirement to control the adverse existence of the chemicals or the biomolecules requires better chemistry and better active ingredients which can fight and then contain so that the living mechanism will sustain its metabolism properly. This is the only objective. So, protect from disease. A sudden spurt of mutated virus can introduce a complex cellular change. It is happening actually. There are cellular changes with hitherto unknown proteins. So how quickly you can react? So we must have methods and readiness for that. How quick we can introduce the drugs? Is it necessary a bulk chemical? Should you consume a large amount of chemical which is not required at all parts of the body? The virus would have attacked only a certain portion of the body. Can you transport it exactly to the point? Whether it should be a chemical transport or should it be a biomolecular transport to that place and then containing the transformations taking place there. Okay, so is it necessary a bulk chemical, a primitive approach, or it site and shoot proteins, counterattack at sites of the disease? These are some of the specific questions over which the decisions need to be taken and large amount of research is required. In current path, the right approach to search for vaccines for HIV, is it correct? People are asking continuously these days. I may fiddle with the proteins which are actually on the hide and seek game all the time. I have so many ligands to which I can add the chemical, but immediately it gets transformed in the feedback loop and comes out with another one. Where will I contain it? There is a chance actually. So what is that chance? We have to learn from the nature because the whole thing is triggered by the evolution and the evolution itself has got methods to contain this. There is a gap in understanding the evolution and the molecular structures which are existing today. So that gap needs to be plugged and heavy research is required to achieve that rather than attacking straightforward way by having the counter proteins or counter chemicals by which it could be annulled, the effects could be annulled. And I'm putting it in the very actually informal way, but I would like to invite the scientists to look into the Louis Pasteur model and synthesize the antibodies from the host cellular cluster itself, rather than attacking the proteins in the same way. Definitely we have to have the deep knowledge of the proteins. Probably we will be able to split them and kill them. But at the same time, there are natural resources available, probably the mechanism and dynamics yet to be understood, by which the vaccine itself may become more effective. So innovation is required rather than extension of research in laboratories. Definitely focused research and extreme refinement of knowledge is one of the requirements of the day, I agree. At the same time, that extension research cannot solve all the problems of the world. It requires innovative approaches, taking up this knowledge and applying it like Louis Pasteur could do in a simple way. I'm sure that even as a challenge, if smallpox is a challenge today, we approach that with protein techniques. It may take a number of years, much higher than what Louis Pasteur could do with the simplest technique. So we have to advance the focus today. At the same time, a transformational, innovative approach is required by which we will be able to gain the control over systems in a much better environment. A symmetric fold of the protein in HIV play hide and seek with the drugs. Probably subject cells to seek evolutionary procedures to contain the proteins by introducing chances of another transformation to harmless mode by probably antibodies, or I would say any other body what we can create and then make, rather than the chemical attack over them. A biological attack towards them would be much better. Why can't we think in those lines? There are people definitely thinking. So, harmless mode of antibodies and then go back to the nature rather than purely testing it in the purely on a face-to-face type of approach. Food and agriculture offers a large challenge. The food security is a problem. The rising population around 6 billion, the planet production of quality food is far below the requirement. Actually, it is a fact. Then how do we sustain? Some of them are not eating properly. This is a fact actually. There is a food crisis which is coming up because of the developing nations are demanding more food material because they are getting into more and more on the processing side of the food. It is true biotechnology already looks into this. But the question is, can we achieve bulk quantity with naturally fit for risk-free consumption if we are going for artificial food generation? The proteomics may have to play a major role in identifying the right varieties. Definitely the structural proteomics will be the tool and the aid, and the capability and refinement we have achieved today will help us to find out the risks and large-scale production together. In the left hand and right hand we can progress in agriculture. Sustainable social systems are another issue actually. It requires the support of biology. Interdisciplinary research is required to keep a clean earth, a green earth. We are producing massive amount of carbon dioxide, we know. And the implications also we know. Not only that, the industries are producing a lot of sulfur content which has got a direct effect on the species. New microorganisms as cleaners. We require it, we need to manufacture it. New protein factory for CO2 reversal process. Working as breathing engines across the world. And I'm trying for the patent in it. Identify new channels formation in protein folds, extract, remove anything you want. It all requires more understanding of the biomolecules and its purpose. This is a vital word which I am putting. Biomolecules are existing in this world for a purpose. That purpose is met by the drive of the evolution. This is one thing. When we are working with these proteins, these amino acids and its reactions, its folding, its dynamics, its structures, its transformations, its coding techniques, all these things, when we look at it and work in the refined way, look at the nature, why it has created it, where it is always leading to, why this stability, particular stability is existing in it. Darwin made a sweeping change. Actually, the biomolecules, evolution, modeling, and computer simulations. These are some of the most gifted areas in which actually sweeping changes are going to take place. As I said, Darwin has done it in the past. Can the biomolecular knowledge find out the model of evolution correctly? Even now, it is not very clear. We say that evolution has got randomness, evolution has got purpose, but we are not clear on what is that. Why a particular species is existing, why another one is not existing. So why we have evolved with the plants and creatures of this shape, this nature, this reproduction, and this type of retreat. You know that every species come up and then go away, including human. Why the cycle is like this? Where does it all fit in? What motivates this? Why these molecules could form to this different forms of the living being, to the mammoth animal like elephant we can see today, or in the past, or the dinosaurs, or the plants of particular trees. how they have formed itself to this. Don't you think that there can be another evolution on Earth? It is possible, but we don't have by natural selection. But what is the chemistry of it? What is the physics of it? Can I create another world? So a breakthrough is there. Last week, I'm not telling people are not working. They are working actually. 10/11/2008, a team of Princeton University scientists discovered that chains of proteins found in the most living organisms have they have the proteins which can work like adaptive machines, processing capability to control the evolution. There is a control taking place from the macromolecules which were existing in the past, maybe 100 million years back, and this is evolving into the species today by a controlled mechanism. The modeling has been already done and it has been declared about 4 days back, and it's widely getting debated in the scientific community. It's actually based on the control theory, Bellman coding theory actually, by which they are able to say that these proteins are existing here to propagate the evolution. A coherent evolution is taking place. There is a message from the amoeba to human being. So probably these things will be a wonderful contribution to the humanity, and they will be able to sustain on this earth with peace, happiness, and a bright set of forward-looking thoughts. Life under command and control is one of the best offer what we can make in 21st century. Create a macromolecule which could be signaled to split into two with the same characteristic under my command and control. I create life, I control life, I can spoil that life too. Produce artificial living mechanisms with defined functions. Next step, if I have the capability, I will be able to create living mechanisms with the following functions, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, generate chains from a root molecular structure which can undergo evolutions of natural selection under my preconditions. I will not give the atmospheric pressure of this much. I will not give temperature a range of 0 degree to 40 degrees centigrade or 50 degrees centigrade. I will give different, but molecules must exist with energy. It should be able to collect energy and it should be able to sustain. That will motivate another evolution which may be taking place in some other planets these days. It can produce food. It can control disease. It can clean earth. It can store and release energy. These are the basic functions we are looking forward to. Marvelous world, a bright future. Combining the hitherto accumulated knowledge can do great things. More institutions are required in the world to focus on research in these lines. Probably I'll be talking this in France, maybe within 10 days' time. Some of these messages with the theory I will be putting there. The service to humanity can no more be limited to feeding the poor. This was the primitive definition. Today, feeding the poor is not the contribution to humanity. Protect them and enable them to sustain with the adversities of the nature or the best challenges it can raise on earth. But it must direct helping to create a generation far ahead in the facilities under control to sustain on earth for having born as a member of the Homo sapiens. We must have the ability, we must build it. Let the growth of proteomics throw light on this to achieve greater prospects. I am absolutely sure about it. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. I hope this will give an exposure to the need of the day and the diversification each segment of the refined knowledge can combine together and do in 21st century. Thank you very much.